It was 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night in downtown Chicago, and Darius Mitchell was exhausted. Not the kind of tired you get from a bad day at work, the kind that seeps into your bones after 19 hours of back-to-back meetings, 3 flights, and negotiations that would determine whether 2,000 people kept their jobs or got pink slips by Monday. Darius had just saved those jobs, closed a deal worth $340 million, and now all he wanted was a bed. But here's what nobody in that lobby knew as he walked through the revolving doors of the Grand Meridian Hotel. Darius Mitchell owned the place. Not just this hotel, the entire chain. 47 properties across 12 countries. The same kid who grew up in Akron, Ohio, who dominated the NBA for 18 seasons, who won 4 championships and 2 Olympic gold medals, had taken his earnings and built a hospitality empire that put him on Forbes' billionaire list 3 years running. Tonight, though, he wasn't arriving in a town car with an assistant and a security detail. His flight from Tokyo had been delayed. His phone had died somewhere over the Pacific, and he'd caught an Uber straight from O'Hare wearing jeans, a black hoodie, and beat-up sneakers. No briefcase, no suit, no jewelry. Just a 6'8" black man walking into a 5-star hotel at midnight, looking like he'd been traveling for 30 hours. Because he had been. The lobby was all marble and gold, crystal chandeliers hanging like frozen waterfalls, soft piano music drifting from the bar. A few guests in designer clothes sat in leather chairs, sipping cocktails and pretending not to stare. Darius walked straight to the front desk, where a woman in her mid-30s with blonde hair, pulled back so tight it looked painful, was typing on a computer. Her name tag read Jennifer Morrison, front desk manager. "Evening," Darius said, his voice friendly but worn out. "I need a room for the night. King bed, if you've got it." Jennifer looked up, and her expression changed instantly. Not welcoming, not professional, just cold. Her eyes traveled from his hoodie to his sneakers and back up again, and Darius knew that look. He'd seen it 1,000 times before he became famous, still saw it sometimes when people didn't recognize him. "Do you have a reservation?" she asked, her tone already dismissive. "No, but I'm hoping you have availability. It's been a long day." Jennifer clicked her mouse a few times, not even really looking at the screen. "I'm sorry, we're completely booked tonight. There's a Motel 6 about 4 miles down the road. They might have something." Darius paused. He could see the computer screen from where he stood, and it was showing at least 15 available rooms in green. She was lying to his face. "Are you sure?" he asked, keeping his voice level. "Because I can see your screen from here, and it looks like you've got rooms available." Jennifer's jaw tightened. "Sir, those rooms are reserved for our premium guests. We have standards here. Now, if you're not going to make a purchase, I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call security." A couple at the concierge desk turned to watch. The piano music seemed to get quieter. Darius felt that familiar anger rising in his chest, the kind that came from being treated like you don't belong in a space you literally built. But here's the thing about Darius Mitchell. He didn't get to where he was by losing his cool. He got there by being 10 steps ahead of everyone else in the room. "Standards," Darius repeated slowly. "Interesting word. Tell me, Jennifer, what standards exactly am I not meeting?" "We cater to a certain clientele," she said, her voice dropping lower. "I think you'd be more comfortable somewhere else." That's when Darius noticed the security guard starting to move toward him. A big guy, maybe 6'4", hand already moving toward his radio. But before he could get close, something happened that Jennifer clearly wasn't expecting. The elevator doors opened, and out walked Marcus Chen, the hotel's general manager. Marcus had been with the company for 8 years, worked his way up from front desk to GM, And he knew exactly who owned the company he worked for. He'd been in corporate meetings with Darius, had shaken his hand at the annual leadership conference just 6 weeks ago. Marcus took 3 steps into the lobby, saw Darius standing at the front desk, and his face went completely white. "Mr. Mitchell," Marcus said, his voice cracking slightly. Then louder, "Mr. Mitchell, sir, I apologize. I didn't know you were arriving tonight." The lobby went dead silent. Jennifer's head snapped toward Marcus, so fast you could hear her neck crack. The security guard froze mid-step. Even the piano player missed a note. Darius held up his hand calmly. "Marcus, good to see you. I actually need you to hold on for just a minute. Jennifer here was just explaining to me that this hotel has standards. I'd like to hear more about that." Jennifer's face had gone from pale to red to a shade of white that looked like she might pass out. "Mr. Mitchell, I didn't realize..." "Didn't realize what?" Darius asked, his voice still calm but carrying an edge now. "Didn't realize I owned this building? Or didn't realize you just violated about 6 different company policies in the span of 2 minutes?" Marcus stepped forward, looking like he wanted to sink into the marble floor. "Sir, I take full responsibility. This is unacceptable." "No," Darius said, his eyes still locked on Jennifer. "I want to hear it from her. Jennifer, explain to me exactly what clientele this hotel caters to. Use your words. Be specific." Jennifer's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I thought you didn't look like..." "Like what?" Darius pressed. "Like someone who could afford to be here? Like someone who belongs in a 5-star hotel? Or did you mean something else?" The other guests were openly staring now. Someone had their phone out, definitely recording. The security guard had backed up so far he was practically in the gift shop. Jennifer's voice came out as a whisper. "I made a mistake." "No," Darius said, shaking his head. "A mistake is booking the wrong room or charging the wrong card. What you did was make a choice. You looked at me and decided I didn't deserve basic respect because of how I looked, because of what I looked like." He turned to Marcus. "How many complaints have been filed against Jennifer in the past year?"
Marcus swallowed hard. 17, sir. We've had multiple guests report discriminatory treatment, particularly guests of color. I've documented them, but corporate HR said we needed more evidence before termination."
"Corporate HR," Darius repeated. "You mean the department I'm going to be visiting first thing Monday morning?" He turned back to Jennifer. "Well, now they have all the evidence they need. You're fired. Effective immediately. Marcus, please have security escort her out and make sure she understands that she's not just banned from this property. She's banned from every single Grand Meridian location worldwide." Jennifer's legs actually buckled. "Please, Mr. Mitchell, I have bills. I have a mortgage. I made a mistake. And now you'll have time to think about it," Darius said, his voice not cruel, just final. "Lots of people have bills and mortgages. That doesn't give you the right to treat people like they're invisible. Maybe this will teach you something." Then Darius did something nobody expected. He turned to the security guard who'd been approaching him earlier. "You? What's your name?" The guard looked terrified. "Tony, sir. Tony Ramirez." "Tony, you were about to escort me out of this building about 5 minutes ago." "Why?" Tony stammered. She called me over and said you were refusing to leave." "Did I look threatening to you, Tony? Did I raise my voice? Make any aggressive moves?" "No, sir, you didn't. I should have questioned the situation more." Darius nodded slowly. "Yeah, you should have, but at least you're honest about it. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to spend tomorrow morning in a training session on de-escalation and implicit bias, and then you're getting a raise, because I need people working here who can learn from their mistakes, not just follow orders blindly." Tony's jaw dropped. "Sir, I don't know what to say. Say you'll show up for that training and actually pay attention." Then Darius turned to address the entire lobby, his voice carrying to every corner. "For anyone who's been recording this on their phones, go ahead and post it. I'm not trying to hide what happened here. Share it everywhere, because here's what I want people to know. I built this company to be different, to be better. And when we fall short of that, I want people to see how we fix it." He gestured to the other guests who'd been watching, "And to everyone staying here tonight, your rooms are compoled, full refund. Consider it an apology for having to witness this. That's not the Grand Meridian experience you paid for." The lobby erupted. People pulling out their phones, talking excitedly, a few actually starting to applaud. Marcus looked like he might cry from relief. Jennifer was being escorted toward the exit by 2 security guards, her face buried in her hands. But Darius wasn't done. He pulled out a business card from his wallet, walked over to a young black couple who'd been sitting in the corner, watching everything unfold, clearly guests at the hotel. "I saw how you were looking at me when I first walked in," Darius said to them quietly. "Like you knew exactly what was happening because it's happened to you before." The young man nodded, his girlfriend squeezing his hand. "More times than we can count," he said. "What do you do for a living?" Darius asked. "I'm in hotel management," the young man said. "Actually, just graduated from Cornell's hospitality program. Still looking for the right opportunity." Darius handed him the card. "Call that number Monday morning. Ask for Sarah in HR. Tell her I sent you. We need people who understand what real hospitality looks like, because they've been on the other side of that desk." The young man stared at the card, his hands shaking. His girlfriend had tears in her eyes. "Mr. Mitchell, I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me make sure this never happens to anyone else in one of my hotels." 20 minutes later, Darius was finally in his room. Not just any room, the penthouse suite on the 47th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline. Marcus had personally escorted him up, apologizing the entire way. "Sir," Marcus said as he was leaving, "I should have fired her months ago. I was weak. I let it continue because I was afraid of conflict with HR, afraid of wrongful termination lawsuits. I failed you and I failed our guests." Darius sat down on the edge of the bed, finally letting himself feel the exhaustion. "Marcus, you didn't fail. You documented everything. You tried to do it by the book. But sometimes the book is broken, and you have to be willing to throw it out and write a new one. Starting Monday, that's exactly what we're doing. New policies, new training, and a zero-tolerance policy that actually means something." After Marcus left, Darius stood at the window, looking out at the city lights. His phone had finally charged enough to turn on, and it was already blowing up. The video from the lobby had gone viral. 3 million views in 20 minutes. News outlets were calling. Social media was exploding. But Darius wasn't worried about the press. He was thinking about that young couple, about Jennifer's other victims, about every black person, every person of color, every person who'd ever been made to feel small by someone with a little bit of power and a lot of prejudice. He picked up his phone and called his head of HR. "Sarah, it's Darius. Yeah, I know it's late. I need you to pull every discrimination complaint filed across all our properties for the last 5 years. Every single one. I don't care if it's marked resolved or insufficient evidence. Pull them all. We're going to review every case, and we're going to make things right." The next morning, Darius held an emergency video conference with every general manager in the company. All 47 properties. He didn't mince words. Last night I was denied a room at my own hotel because I didn't look like I belonged there. But this isn't about me. This is about every guest who's experienced the same thing and didn't have the power to fight back. That changes today. Any employee found discriminating against guests for any reason is terminated immediately. No second chances, no warnings, and every GM who's been sitting on complaints without taking action, you better start updating your resumes. 6 months later, the Grand Meridian hotel chain had transformed. New training programs, a third-party hotline for discrimination complaints, and a management team that looked like the diverse world they served. The young man from the lobby, Trevor Washington, was now an assistant manager at the Chicago property, being fast-tracked for GM. And Jennifer Morrison? She never worked in hospitality again. Not because Darius blacklisted her. He never had to. The video had done that. The entire industry knew her name, knew her face, knew exactly who she was and what she'd done. But here's the real ending to this story. 2 weeks after that night, Darius received a handwritten letter. It was from a young girl, 13 years old, black, from the south side of Chicago. "Dear Mr. Mitchell," it read, "I saw the video of what happened to you. My dad says stuff like that happens all the time, but nothing ever changes. Thank you for not staying quiet. Thank you for using your power to help people who don't have any. When I grow up, I want to be like you, not rich or famous, just brave enough to stand up when it's hard." Darius framed that letter and hung it in his office, because that's what it was really about. Not revenge. Not going viral. Not even justice, though that mattered too. It was about using your voice when you finally have one, so that someday, maybe, nobody has to fight these battles anymore. That's the power of not backing down, of staying calm when everything in you wants to explode, of turning a moment of humiliation into a movement for change. Because at the end of the day, Darius Mitchell didn't just own those hotels, he owned his dignity, and nobody, not Jennifer, not anyone, could ever take that away.